Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. BJ the Brave here. Very excited today to be bringing you a very special video. We're going to actually be revealing some new cards for the brand new faction. That's right folks, you heard it right. We are into that time finally where we're going to get our first faction. Those who have been playing Warpforge for some time will know we've had reinforcement drops, but we haven't had a complete new faction, so it's super exciting. I'm very grateful to EG for allowing me to do this, and just in terms of what you can expect over the next 5 to 7 days, different members of the Warpforge community are going to be revealing a handful of cards on their channel, so it'll give us kind of like something to sort of whet our appetite and talk about as a community every day, which I think is pretty cool. If you haven't watched the Ecclesiarch's channel, he actually released the first he was the first content creator to release cards, and he did that literally 30 minutes before this video. So if you haven't yet seen the Ecclesiarchs, make sure to go and check out his channel and watch that straight afterwards, and then that will give you two releases for the price of one today. Alright, I'm very excited about Tau personally, because as somebody who worked for Games Workshop, someone who's collected 40k, I used to play on the tournament circuit with my Tau army, so this is one of the forces along with Space Wolves that are particularly kind of close to my heart in 40k. So I'm super pumped, super excited that this is our first new faction. Alright, so let's dive in. Okay, so the first thing I want to share with you is a new game mechanic. So this game mechanic is called Marite. And basically, the way this reads is Marite X, when this unit receives a ranged attack, it receives X additional damage and loses the Marite at the end of the turn. So this is an effect that we put on an enemy unit. It can be the enemy warlord, or it could be a unit, although certain cards might limit that. So a certain card might say that you can Marite an enemy troop, for example, which would mean you couldn't do the warlord. But without that restriction, in general, you can Marite the warlord as well. And when you put that condition on your opponent, as it says, that any time that then receives any damage from specifically the ranged attack, we all know Tau are a firepower and a ranged faction more than the melee faction, then it will receive whatever that X was on the card. So if it was Marite 2, for example, if you attacked it with something that had 2 ranged attack, it would actually do 4 ranged attack, because the Marite 2 would do 2 additional damage. So it's kind of similar to vulnerable, if you think about the vulnerable mechanic that we have, except for vulnerable obviously is only ever 1, whereas the Marite we can kind of make more vulnerable, if you like. And speaking of which, one of the things that you need to know about this is that Marite can stack. So we could place something Marite 2 on something, and then we could put Marite 1 on the same unit, giving it a total of Marite 3 until the end of the turn. The key thing there is at the end of the turn, the Marite goes away. Now the other thing is that multiple units can benefit from that Marite. So, let's say we've Marite a unit for 2, and then we attack it with 1 unit, then we attack it with our warlord's ranged attack, and then we attack with another unit. All 3 of those will do the additional Marite damage. So this can absolutely melt big units. It's a really cool mechanic for just shredding units. So yeah, so that is the Marite mechanic. So let's move on then and take a look at just a small handful of cards. Alright, so the first one we're going to look at is the Humble Gun Drone. The MV1 gun drones are equipped with pulse carbines that allow them to lay down withering hails of fire. Now, what we can see here is it costs 2 energy, it's 0 melee attack, something that we're probably going to see as a running theme through the Tau units, I imagine. It does come with the 1 range attack, but most importantly it's got 3 health and flying. So 3 health and flying is pretty good defense for a 2-drop. And that's important, because what this gun drone is basically saying is that it needs to survive a turn. At the start of the turn, it will automatically deal 2 damage to a random enemy. Now that obviously could be the warlord included in that. It's a little bit slow, it feels like. However, I think we need to think about what this would look like in terms of the synergy. So, like I say, I've only seen the cards I'm showing you today, and I've seen the cards that Ecclesiarch showed half an hour ago, but I haven't seen any of the other cards from the collection or what content creators are sharing. So I'm really curious to kind of see, like, are there ways you can kind of suddenly deploy several gun drones at once? Because it could be that there's quite you know, quite a fair amount of devastation that could kind of lead to. What seems kind of fairly humble to start with could really mount up. So yeah, so that is the standard gun drone. Okay, oh, and just one thing to note on the gun drone. You know, obviously the 2 damage that it does automatically at the start, that can't benefit from Markalite, because it's going to the Markalites end at the end of the turn, and then obviously this does 2 damage at the start of the turn before you've had chance to put extra Markalites on. However, the range attack could then do additional damage, so you get the kind of 2 damage automatically from all your gun drones, and then you attack after Markalite in a unit, and so even just the horde of drones could end up essentially adding up to do some pretty devastating damage if you could deploy several of them at once. Okay, so next, another drone for you, the marker drone. MV7 marker drones are able to paint enemy targets for other tower units to fire upon, while benefiting from increased network processing power when present in large numbers. That's interesting. So what's the increased network processing power hinting at? Well, I guess, as we said, Markalites can stack. So if we had 3 marker drones, we could put, you know, 2 Markalite on one enemy unit and then 1 on another, or we could put all 3 on one. And similar stats, guys, you know, 2 energy, the 0, 1 again, and the 3 health flying. So exactly the same sort of makeup in terms of stats. But the difference here is at the start of your turn, you automatically give Markalite 1 to a random enemy. Now, this might be a bit annoying that it's random, actually, but again, as it sort of said, benefiting from as the law kind of suggests here, that having you know, if you can get several marker drones down, then this can really stack up. And the interesting thing here is it does say at the start of your turn, give Markalite 1. So my question is, what happens if we've got 2 gun drones and 2 marker drones? Do the Markalites land, and then the gun drones would essentially benefit from that, or how does that work? That's a question I've got for the devs. But again, very interested in this one. I love the idea of Markalites, and I'm really liking this idea of stacking them. I would have liked to have seen them do something to stealth as well, but maybe that's going to come in some other form. Okay, next up we have got the Firesight Maxman. Now, the Firesight Maxman, hidden behind shimmering stealth fields, the Firesight Maxman play their targeting instruments over the foe and transmit data to the MV71 sniper drones in their thrall. So if we take a look at the stats first of all, this costs 5 energy, so a sort of mid-range unit, and it's got the 5 health. It's got 2 melee attack, which is poor, and 4 range attack, which is, you know, okay. So not great stats, right, for the 5 energy, but I actually think this is a really good card because, first of all, it comes with stealth, and we all know how good stealth is. It means that not only do we get to play it on the turn we play it, but obviously it's more than likely with 5 health to still be there next turn, alright? So what I love about this card is that along with the stealth, it says when you deploy a drone, give it +1 ranged attack, and then it says rally, give Markalite 3 to an enemy troop. So we get a rally effect on the turn we play this, which our other units, including our Warlord, can benefit from. So it's kind of got that immediate impact up to the board thing going for it, and Markalite 3 is very, very powerful. It also is going to says that when you deploy a drone, give +1 range attack. So it doesn't even have to be that turn. It could be the next turn, because you're going to survive through stealth, that you could then deploy. If you could quickly deploy drones, they'd suddenly get quite a big bonus to range attack. Or if it was late in the game, we could obviously deploy this and drones at the same time. So it does say when you deploy a drone, so this wouldn't impact drones that are already in play. But I really like this card design because, you know, yes, when it comes out of stealth, it's probably going to get taken out quite easily. You can imagine a possessed champion or the Necron flanker destroyer that has 5 attack, the 4 drop. You know, it'd be pretty easy to deal with this with flanked range damage. Flanked melee damage. But what I love is that there's some kind of interesting combos across 2 turns that this card can play, and that's something I always look for. It's one of the reasons I quite like the Orcs. I just think there's a lot of flexibility in their play style. So I really, really like this card. It is also an epic, which is kind of interesting to note. and it is infantry. I don't know if I mentioned previously, but these guys actually, the marker drone and the gun drone, they actually have drone as the title of the unit, so that's a kind of new unit type if you like, so it's something to look out for as we see the rest of the collection. So that is the Firesight Maxman. Okay, so moving on. We have the Sunshark Bomber. Now the Sunshark Bomber, quite a cool unit from a building perspective. This is a big boy. This is 9 energy. It says able to micro manufacture its own energy munitions in the heat of battle. The Sunshark drops thrumming pulse bombs onto the foe and obliterates them with ferocious blasts. So the big 9 drop, what's it give us? Well, it gives us 9 health, flyer, which, you know, 9 health flyer is pretty difficult to get rid of in one turn outside of sort of hard removal. And so in terms of the stats, it's got 4 melee and 6 range. It's more likely than not going to get attacked on its range damage, right? Because of the fact that it's flying. So it's not bad. It's not great for 9 energy, but it's certainly not bad in terms of 6 range attack. The other thing you've got to consider is that obviously it lines up with marker light damage, right? So if something's got marker light 2 and you hit it with your 6, that's obviously 8 you're doing. So yeah, so not too bad. But then importantly, it has blast 5. So I'm trying to think about like the Hemlock. Like, I don't think this is anywhere near as good as what the Hemlock was before the nerf. The Hemlock has now been nerfed. It no longer comes on with flank and 5 blast. It only gets 3, and that's if the Eldar player spends 3 stones, whereas this just sort of at least just gets 5 blast, right? It's 9 energy, not 8, if we're comparing it with Hemlock, but you know, it just comes with the 5 blast, so you know, it sort of has to be removed, really, right? Like, if you do play this card, like, it has to be removed. If it doesn't, then it's going to be pretty devastating. And then the other nice thing about this card is that it does come with a rally effect. So, you know, it does at least do something on the turn that it arrives. It gives marker light 2 to an enemy. So overall, I think this is a flyer that's quite hard to kill. It is very expensive though, and only giving 2 marker light on rally is probably... there might be probably cheaper ways to kind of get that effect, right? To just put 2 marker lights on something. And so you know you're really, to run this, you're going to really want the body, but you know, it's pretty cool. Not a bad kind of core card. It's a common card, so you know, it's quite interesting to gauge what I think the other tanks will be like. If this is kind of like the power level at the common, it'd be interesting to see what some of the others look like. So there we got it, guys. Very quick recap. You've got the marker light, as we say. We've got the gun drone, we got the marker drone, and we've got the Firesight Maxman and the Sunshark Bomber. So guys, stay tuned. There will be much more to come. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Appreciate all the support if you have. And as I said before, if you've not checked out the Ecclesiarch, go ahead and check out his channel for some other freshly revealed cards as well. I'll see you in the next one.